So, apologies again for those of you non-English natives who thought it went too fast last time, but we're going to do exactly the same thing this time, but from the perspective of breath. We will get another look at that, but actually, because when one does, we've always worked with the natural breathing, which allows it to take its own rhythm. But of course, if you're working with it in the context of fitness or yoga, then you need the breath to take a particular rhythm. So we're going to look at how that actually works and how to use it. So does anyone want to share anything from last time? Hannes.
I found out in redoing the course that the lunges, I did it once and I felt kind of pain in the knees or something unease. And I think I did the steps were too big. And so today I was doing it again and it was just a small step and then it felt very good. And so it matters.
Yes, well, it's finding what's right for you, isn't it? And I think if one overextends, it's tempting to go for an ambitious step, but actually, if your body's not ready for that, then you know you're going to not get the muscle engagement. So it's finding. I don't know any hard and fast rules on this one, but I think listening to your own system on this one, you want to be able to find what we're after, and the bigger the stretch, the harder that will be. So yeah,
and everybody in doing sports as child, everybody is pushing you towards huge steps and being like this, and so you're not allowed to find it. And I mean, if you do it the small way or sometimes just small movements. So what I experience with you is with getting the tone and the breath and the the oppositions, it can be so intense, and it's a great exercise, even if you do very small movements.
It can indeed. I mean, one can sometimes play with micro movements.
Yeah.
And there was a phase for calisthenics in, I don't know, Princess, what was the other princess? Not Diana, Eugenie's mum. Can't remember her name at the moment. Fergie. She got her weight down doing calisthenics, and it's not the calisthenics that's on the sort of internet at the moment. It's something much. It was just sort of tiny movements, so, you know. And I only heard about it at the time, but I thought, because all the calisthenics teachers were, you know, teaching stars, they were all sort of, you know, 150 a session or something. Someone's asked some. But it sounded very interesting, and I think, you know, there's a lot in that. And the theory was there: the smaller the movement, the more powerful you could get it.
Yeah.
And they certainly transformed Fergie with it. She had one-to-one, but you needed one-to-one coaching to do it well. So I think there's something in that. And of course, all the trainers have these fantastically wide stances, and then you think you should be copying that. And yeah, good. Thank you. Anyone else make any discoveries? Chris?
Could I just ask at some point, would it be possible to do something on running?
Sure.
Or at least pick your brains about that. I know it's a little bit tricky.
More
doing it
than I did with Lawrence in his videos. Yeah. What is it you're after particularly? I mean, we won't look at it today, but.
Well, the whole foot placement thing, is it the toes and the balls of the feet, or is it the
argument is still out.
I know, but I'm interested in what you think.
I'm avoiding saying anything. I'm not an active enough runner to really have a qualified opinion on that, frankly. I mean, if I'm completely honest here. I think I've played with it always. I've played with If I land just on my toes, then after a while my calves hurt. If I land more on the flat of the foot, then it's got less of a spring. And I think there's all sorts of payoffs going on. I haven't done very much running in the last year because I've just been too knackered from the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really think I'm qualified at the moment to look at the finer things on that.
Okay, fair enough. It's just something I can't work out that's going on with my calves when I run as well. And it seems very quickly that they get tight, and I can't work out if they're actually weak and tight, or I don't know, what am I trying to say? They need to be more stretched out, or whether they're actually not strong enough and things like that. So I was just
get somebody to video you running and put a clip of it on our Facebook group.
Okay, well, I've got Claire, if we get round to doing this, to ask in more detail. I was just wondered what you had to say about it, that was all.
I think it's, from what I've seen of the natural running circles, it's the place of biggest, nobody's quite sure really. There's the whole thing about small steps or long steps. And certainly when I was first doing it, it was all small steps, but now one finds this, screwing the ankle and the hip laterals, I think one can actually go for much bigger steps. So I think it's an evolving field.
Okay.
There are definitive answers to these questions. Do play with Claire and see what you come up with.
Chris, you could check the running video I posted on a Facebook site, which is from this very fast marathon runner. That was I think a marathon in Berlin, and
yes, I did actually, and I played around doing that as well. What they were saying.
Yeah, and he's just quite a nice analysis about running. Yeah, and it really reflected what we were talking about with walking, and I think a nice thought is also, well, at least I was experimenting with that, is that the back foot can get like this nice bounce from the ground to really also leave the ground in a way that you have this it's coming up in the back, and just that you don't stop it from coming up in that way. But I was experimenting with that, but it's
Malcolm Bork tells one of the great runners who was asked what's the secret to your running, and he said to have the foot in contact with the ground for as short a time as possible.
Yeah,
that sort of goes with that, really, doesn't it? Dum, dum, dum,
yeah,
dum.
it goes in the back. It really flies up in the back. Just check me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And it's
Say? Yeah, come close to your mic, I think. Can you hear us? We'll all keep quiet and see if we can. No, we can't, but go on, say what you wanted to say.
Speed helps as well. So if you're running more slowly, it'll be different to when you're running, if you're sprinting. And that transition from walking, where it's more heel, to as you speed up, it comes slightly more further forward.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking blankly at me like you can't hear me. I'll be quiet.
Oh, so that's good. So what you're suggesting is at the different speeds, it will affect the spring of the back foot, but it might also affect the amount of foot going on the ground.
I think so.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I think, yeah, that's what my understanding is. But again, like you said, it's it's really still questionable.
Hannes, do you have a comment on it?
Yeah, what I remember of the video that Anne-Dore posted was that they explained the steps get bigger to the back, behind the torso. And so, like you explaining, we get used from the Nike advertisements to stretch and to jump like this. and to do a huge step, and they say it's more open to the back. And we did it in the 2 times ago with a dancing with the Nicholas brothers, something like you said, leave the legs behind. It was similar.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, just to open the quads and not be tight, and working on this might help for running.
Yes, and all that sort of thing is going to affect what part of the foot comes down, I would think. So, you know, keep playing and see what works for your system, and see what then the calves do. If that helps. Okay, let's get going. Sorry, we can't be more definitive.
But is there difference to walking? I mean, if we work with a walking stuff, it will improve running anyway, isn't it?
Well, that's my theory. I mean, I just, you know, I mean, Mark and Bork taught this stuff with running, and then said, well, of course, walking is completely different. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not. They're the same system, but when you speed up, the gait does change. Mm-hmm. And the arms go from, you know, being there suddenly to wanting to do that. There are shifts in the way the body organizes at a certain speed, and you see that with horses, Chris, don't you? From the walk to the trot to the to the gallop, and there's very precise shifts between gaits. So it's like watching for that.
But this might be innate patterns, isn't it?
Sorry?
This might be innate patterns.
Yes, those are innate.
Movement. If we go from walking to running, that the body knows how to do and what to change.
Yes, it absolutely does. It's they're self-organizing shifts.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. I mean, you know, I'm not a big runner, but I'm also experimenting a bit. And if you just like step out of the door and start running, it's a huge difference from making your pulse first and then really go with this gluteus upper part of gluteus maximus, like stabilizing, and then just really speeding it up, and then you get more. It's a nicer transition to a softer running instead of just, okay, now I run. If you really start from walking and just speed it up, I think it's really helpful.
Okay, let's come to what we're doing this week, which is, I say, for those who joined a bit later, we're going to work with exactly the same as we did last week, but we're going to add in the breath, because in ordinary, we've been working with natural breathing where it takes its own rhythm, but in, say, a yoga class, if you're working with flows in the way we're doing, and you want to use the breath with that, then you have to be able to regulate it. So we're going to start off on the floor. We're going to start off with finding the natural breath, and then go into a count of 4 for in and 6 for out, except you or whatever suits you, but choose a rhythm, and you'll find that, you know, for me, it then goes to 7, 5 and 8, 6. It wants to extend after a while, because the danger when we start working with that is that then we start making the in-breath happen, and then we start pulling up. And even though we're working with a more of a fixed pattern, we still want to find a way of letting the in-breath be spontaneous. And that's the challenge we're going to be working with, and then see what comes out of that. Okay, so let's all find the yoga mats and start on the floor like we did last time. So just starting by seeing, letting your eyes track around, maybe letting your head follow, rolling right and left. Finding your spatial awareness. Just sending a leg away from you. Being aware of the space getting bigger. The distance between you and the ceiling and you and the foot. And without anything changing. Just letting that foot come in again, staying with the mind in the brain. Letting the leg fold. And then when you're ready, sending the other leg away from mind in the brain. And then staying out of the way, keeping with that spatial awareness, which includes the space to the foot, let it come in again. And then being aware of the breath, just letting it flow in and flow out like waves on the sea. Just watching it. Not trying to do anything except observe it. Being aware if it is in the chest at all. Inviting there to be no hold at the top of the in-breath. It flows in and it flows out. And on the out-breath, it sinks down towards the floor. The belly does. The in-breath opens the whole torso and the out-breath just gently comes towards the floor. And then just finding that longer out-breath, pause. Really waiting until the in-breath comes in by itself. And see if you can allow it to be initiated from the two diaphragms. The thoracic diaphragm, which one I call the diaphragm, and then the pelvic floor, which is also a diaphragm. And they both move downwards on the in-breath, and they're both initiation points. And then they come back up again on the out-breath, and just waiting for the next initiation to do itself. Not deciding what it ought to feel like. Just being open to what is, what happens this time. And it might be quite a big movement at this point, or it might be a very subtle movement. Whichever it is just fine in this moment. Now just letting the out-breath come back and up, engaging the psoas. Just thinking of again, on the in-breath, when the pelvic floor initiates downwards, actually everything in the torso expands, and the skull actually, if you think about it, has to expand upwards as well. And all the joints in the body are subtly widened away from each other. The arms will lengthen slightly, the vertebrae will lengthen away from each other slightly on the in-breath. And the joints of the skull, the plates of the skull, will also just very, very subtly expand outwards and upwards, as the whole pelvis expands outwards and downwards. And then inviting it to be aware of it all coming in again. And craniosacral might talk about this whole cranial sacral system. Just being aware of that full expansion and then coming in again. The whole head and torso picture. Now, letting the next out breath happen and letting there be a little pause at the end. We're waiting for the next in-breath, and when the in-breath happens, let it happen for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever your count is. So you take over the count, but see if you can bring the out-breath actually to a close, as it were, the active out-breath, to the end by 4 or 5, so that the last beat is actually a rest, from which the in-breath can then emerge on the next count of 1. So I'm just going to shut up for a couple of minutes and let you play with that at your own speed. Letting the in-breath be initiated from the pelvic floor. So trying to keep out, seeing if you can keep a roughly sort of 2 to 3 rhythm. If you find yourself laboring, drop back to a shorter rhythm. Just another couple. And now let's gently bring the knees over the chest. Put the hands on the knees if you want. And again, let's do the same thing. So the out breath is as usual, back and up, bringing the knees in towards the chest. And see if you can do that for a count of 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever you're on to, and then on the in-breath, for whatever the in-breath count is, let them come away. So letting the knees move with the breath. Knees coming in towards the body for a count of, say, 8 on the out breath. So that's coming up and back. And then the in-breath comes in through the pelvic floor. And the legs can release away a bit. You're all doing wonderfully subtle knee movements. Can you hear me all right? Just wave a hand at me if you can hear me. Yeah, good. Okay. And now the question becomes, can we engage the psoas on the out breath and continue to engage it on the in breath and yet still release the pelvic floor? They're not, after all, the same muscle. So can we allow the in-breath to come right into the pelvic floor, but yet keep the psoas toned? Now bringing the legs down again, keeping that tone, of course, coming down, keeping going while you bring the legs down again. And now we're going to, everybody okay, by the way? Just wave a hand at me if you're okay. Yeah, good. Anybody not okay? Wave a hand if you're not okay. No, everybody's okay, good. So we're now going to go into a lying twist like we did last week. Let's vary it this week by putting one knee on top of the other. And if we roll to the right to start with, and we're going to think about the right-hand side oblique, of course, coming across, and the left-hand side oblique resisting. So the right side oblique is pulling across, and the left side oblique is supporting back. And so we're going to actually take 2 or 3 breaths to actually get right over. And if we just take a little bit of a, on the out breath, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then stay there and think that widening of everything on the in-breath, and then we'll go again. And you can also think of a complete diagonal in the psoas, as if there's a diagonal in the psoas, the right-hand side of the psoas at the bottom and the left-hand side of the psoas at the top, as if there's a deep link across the adductors, even deeper in, just to help support and widen the body. And then on the in-breath coming in again. Okay, so let's just start your breath count. And you okay, Hannes?
I don't think I got all the stuff, all the idea of the exercise.
Okay, so you remember that one of doing the
Yeah.
coming from the obliques. And then we're and resisting by using this one.
Yeah.
And then we're going to add a further resistance of that. Just a thought of the diagonal, which is of course the diagonal of the obliques. Is
Yeah.
the internal oblique to the external oblique. But to think of it actually at psoas level.
Okay, so in the back.
Yes, exactly. So you're not merely opening the front diagonally, you're opening the back diagonally as well.
Yeah. And until I move to the side, and it takes like 3 breaths until I'm just right down.
Until you're right down, yes. Two or 3 breaths, whatever's coming. Yeah. And widening on the in-breath. Yeah. Okay, so in your own time. And the head goes in the other direction. And when you're ready to come up in one in-breath, and then swap legs over and go the other way. And the more strain there is on the system, because when we're halfway, it is quite a strain on the system. So making sure that that in-breath doesn't reflect the strain by coming up into the chest. But it really does, just carrying on being from the pelvic floor and into the back, doming down. So finding that the psoas oblique as well as the upper, the belly surface oblique, also finding that psoas oblique on the out breath. The in-breath coming from the pelvic floor. Okay, and coming back up. And let's come to standing. Okay, how did you find that so far? Anyone got a comment to make?
I find it very difficult to image all the muscles, the iliopsoas, what he's doing in this exercise. So there's maybe I need some images, or I don't know. So yeah, I realize that with my out breath, it's easier to come back or to let it fall. So I do it all with my out breath.
Yeah.
This is helpful.
Yes, that's right. It's just, did anyone find that sort of deeper sense of widening across there? It's yeah, play around, Alex, see if you, because it isn't strictly it's more of a sense of that coming across the back. But to me, it really keeps that rib then down, helps things widen and stabilize. So keep playing. Okay, anyone else want to comment so far? Dora.
Yeah, it's really like resolving very deep tensions. I can feel that with breathing, and it feels like I can feel this strong eccentric contraction, and just like keeping it alive through the breath, and then I can go each time a little bit deeper, and I can feel something's really opening there. And it's like huge work, although from the outside, doesn't change much. From the inside, it's so different. And it's just like breathing into the strong support from this eccentric, not like just collapsing to the side.
Yes, beautiful. That's exactly what we're after. Let's just start with a stabilizer. Let's just start by thinking, let's screw the ankles. Let's just think this through first. We're going to align the feet. Think the ankles screwing back and up. The iliacs back and wide off the outside of the knee. Ribs at the back of the armpit, up and away from the sacrum. Tips of the elbows down, away from the sacrum. And top of sternum forwards, away from sacrum. And you can add in the hands as well. And then let's give that a 3. 1, 2, 3. And now just soften that slightly and just find your breathing again. Now we're standing up. So just finding that, letting it find the natural breathing first. And now lift one foot behind you, like we did. We're going to do the bow again. So just lift one foot behind you and come back to, I can't see you and the paper at the same time. And find the rhythmic breath into this position, So we're not doing anything yet. We're just thinking the in-breath down and wide into the pelvic floor and the out-breath back and up. And just take it gently. 4 for in or whatever you're doing and 6 for out. And notice if the leg actually wants to change, even just doing this. You're not trying to do anything, you're just allowing change to happen if it will. And of course, not letting this stance leg collapse, keeping that nice and secure. And then on the in-breath, we're going to lift the arm. And then on the out-breath, back and up and let the body tilt. And now stay in the tilt for the in-breath. And we've got that opposition between the pelvic floor and the skull. And the out-breath back and up. And if you want to do more of a tilt on the out-breath, that's fine. And then on the in-breath, again, just staying into the pelvic floor. But you might find on the in-breath, you can extend the leg a little bit of away with you from you with the hand. Out-breath back and up. And then coming back up on an in-breath and letting the leg come down again. Brilliant. Let's just do another 1, 2, 3 just to stabilize, and we'll do it on the other side. Again, catch the leg.
Sorry, can you repeat the directions once
Oh,
more?
yes, absolutely. Screwing the ankles back and up. Iliac spines up and back off the outside of the knee. Ribs at the back of the armpit up and away from the sacrum. Tip of the elbow down away from the ribs at the back of the armpit. Top of the sternum forwards away from the ribs at the back of the armpit, and the thumbs down and sideways. So just having a 1, 2, 3. And then let's just catch the leg behind. And then just let that in-breath for 4. Out-breath for 6, or whatever your rhythm is. See what you notice, just staying with this on its own. And then lifting the arm on the in-breath. And beginning the tilt on the out-breath. Now, opposition between the pelvic floor and the top of the head on the in-breath. Out-breath is where we're doing the tilt. See if the leg wants to come further behind on the in-breath, but we're not displacing the hip. It's simply and then up again on the in-breath and letting the leg go down. Wow, did anyone notice an increase of stability in that? It looked very stable. So let's go from there into lunges. We'll skip the fast lunges, but let's skip lunges. Let's go straight into the forward bend and the stitty. So the general rule of thumb that certainly I learned from my yoga teacher is that if it's an expanding movement, like taking the arms up, then it's an in-breath, and if it's a curving movement, like taking the arms down, it's an out-breath. So I'll just talk you through this one. So again, by stabilizing first, the arm comes up, and that's the in-breath, and then we're going to do the out-breath into flat back. But then, since we were talking last time about the in-breath actually widens and allows the curl, I thought we'd actually widen down on an in-breath, and then on the out-breath, think the psoas back and up to deepen the bend. And we're going to get the hands, again, the knuckles to the floor, and then we're going to find the vestibular directions at the head and do that stitty out on an in-breath, and then back and up, working the psoas on the out-breath. Do that a few times, and then we come up on the in-breath and down with the arms on the out-breath. Okay? Make sense? And that's all. Again, find your own rhythm. And you may start moving to equal in and out. You okay there, Hannes?
So if we go down, we start with an out breath.
Yes.
Back.
And then an in-breath for that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then stay there for an out-breath before we go into the stitty. I'll call it out. So again, let's find this stabilizing first. So screwing the ankle, iliacs back and up, ribs at the back of the armpit up and away from the sacrum, tip of the elbow down away from the ribs at the back of the armpit, top of the sternum forwards from the ribs at the back of the armpit. 1, 2, 3. And then just on the next in-breath, let the arms come up. But not letting the breath come up. The breath goes down. That's it. And then on the next out-breath, the psoas comes back and up, and we go into the flat back. So you're just working that psoas back and up. And then on the in-breath, start the in-breath and then let the body curl over. And every movement, you want to start the breath and then let the movement ride on the breath. So bend your knees if you need to get your hands to the floor. And then find those directions in the head, your vestibular directions, and let the next in-breath extend the head away from the body, and the body follows to straight, and then down again on the next out-breath, back and up in the psoas, back and up in the psoas. And again on the in-breath, let the pelvic floor breath initiate it. The skull is releasing, blowing away, expanding away from the pelvic floor. The whole vertebrae follow, expanding away from each other. And then on the out-breath, they all come back together again. Again, the pelvic floor initiates the breath, the skull blows, expands away, all the vertebrae expand, and then the psoas back and up. The whole body lengthens and widens down. Don't let the knees fall together in this position. Keep that widening up from the outside going, so that the big toes are still on the ground, but the knees don't fall together. Just do it one more time. And then on the next in-breath, when you're ready, again, the fingertips lead away. They catch, the elbows catch between the ears. The in-breath is initiating. The skull is extending away from the psoas, and we come right the way up, but not letting it draw up into the chest. And then on the out-breath, the hands come down. Lovely. And let's go from there into lunge, if everybody's okay. So we're going to, again, stabilize. Again, I'll just talk you through it. So on the in-breath, on the in-breath, turn the foot out and make a little step. So the breath will help support it. And then on the out-breath, because we've got this out-breath, the psoas pulling up and back, and the outsides of the legs pulling up and back, pulling the hips round. And then on the in-breath, we can raise the arms to the sides. Raise the arms to the sides and let the leg come forwards. But of course, we're not going forwards with it. We stay back in that back hip. So the back knee comes forwards against the opposition of the back hip. That's stay, keeping absolutely still. So the knee only comes to vertical. It doesn't start to come forwards over the foot. So that's the in-breath. And then on the next out-breath, we're going to go to flat back. That up and back of the psoas, which draws that front leg back to straight, and down we go into flat back. And then we're going to stay in flat back and widen for an in-breath there. And then on the next out-breath, come down. And then on the next in-breath, again, let that skull come away from the psoas to bring you back into flat back. We'll repeat that to come down and then up and up on the next in-breath, and the leg comes forwards. And then on the next out-breath, we come back and up, bring the arms down and step back. Okay? So let's start by turning the foot out to the side. So just find it, well, it's stabilize first. Let's just give a 3. 1, 2, 3. And on the next in-breath, just let that foot turn to the side, bend the back leg and step forwards with as wide or short a stance as you are comfortable with. Both legs are now straight, and on the next out breath, draw that front hip back and draw the iliac spines back and off the outside knee so the hip comes straight. And on the next in-breath, raising the arms and letting the front leg come forwards, but stay back in the back leg. So the back hip almost doesn't move. And then on the next out breath, back and up, back and up. It's drawing that front leg straight and drawing the body flat into flat back. The psoas is staying back. Stay there for the in-breath, that sense of the psoas the pelvic floor extending back and the skull extending front. On the next out breath, back and up in the psoas to allow the head to curl forwards over the leg. Both legs are still straight. And now on the next in-breath, again a stitchy. Let that head come forwards away from the psoas, but the arms come up so you come to flat back. And again, down again on the next in-breath, on the next out-breath. And on the next in-breath, again, coming back to flat back. The head leads, all those vertebrae expanding away from each other. And the out-breath coming down again. And then on the next one, we're going to be coming up. Head leads. Arms out to the side unless you really want to push it and take them forwards. The knee comes back to bend. And on the next out breath, draw it all back so the front leg comes straight again, and then bounce yourself back. Okay, let's go again on the other side. So finding maybe doing a stabilizer again. 1, 2, 3. And on the in-breath, the foot turns out. And we step. And on the out-breath, the hips come square to the front, finding that deep front line and the lateral line part of it. And the next in-breath, the front leg bends, the arms come up. On the out breath, back and up, the front knee straightens, we go into flat back. Stay there for an in-breath. Thinking the head away from the pelvic floor. On the out breath again, working back and up to come down over the front leg. And the in-breath, letting the head lengthen away to bring us back into flat back. Again, watch that the chest doesn't pull up with this, that we really are letting the in-breath come in each time from the pelvic floor so that we get that lovely expansion of the head away from the pelvic floor and the pelvic floor away from the head, and the chest is not involved. Everything's widening, but we're not overdoing anything. We're not tightening anything. So 2 of those in your own time, and then on the next one, come on up. When you come back up to straight, the front leg bends. And then on the next out breath, the front leg straightens, and then press back. Lovely. So let's do the next lunges that we did last time. So again, we're going to stabilize, raise the arms. We're going to start at this point in the front of the mat. Go down into, on the out breath, go down into the flat back and then straight through into the forward bend on one go this time. On the in breath, we're going to step back into the lunge and forward with the head. So we've got the head leading the upper body vertebra to straight and sending the heel away. And again, the breath is sending the skull and the pelvic floor in opposition. And then on the out breath, psoas and iliacs come, pull us back, and the head can come forwards over the front leg. And on the in breath, it can all come forwards again. And we're going to go between those a few times and then step back and come up. Okay, so everybody okay with that?
Penelope, sorry, because all the pictures are like we're covering your head and arms. Could you maybe just turn around and do it the other side, because there we have.
Right. So I'm going to come up on the in breath and down this time in one go, in one out breath, down to flat back and then straight and down. And then I'm going to step back and let that, the head is extending away vertebra by vertebra, and we've got the heel going the other way, and we've got that opposition between the in-breath, the skull and the pelvic floor. So everything is opening. We get a lovely opening of the groins. On the out breath, back and up, back and up, back and up, drawing that front leg to straight, and we can come over the front leg. And we'll repeat those a few times, forwards and back, and then step up on an out breath and come up on an in breath. Okay?
Okay.
Right. Okay, so I'll work that way around because I think I can see you better that way. So you can always move the pictures, you know, if you've got me pinned, you can always take your mouse and slide everybody's pictures out of the way. Does that work? Yeah, good. So just again, let's stabilize. 1, 2, 3. And then take your time to find the in-breath. Coming from the pelvic floor, that initiates the movement. The movement rides on the breath, just like we've been working on the voice riding on the breath. And then on the out breath, back and up to come into flat back. The elbows stay between the ears. That's nice. So that's it. And then right down into the forward bend, keeping that psoas, the iliacs back and up so we don't collapse in the hips. And then stepping back on one leg, and the head extends forwards, lengthening the vertebrae where the heel goes back, and the skull and the psoas are and the skull and the pelvic floor in opposition on the in-breath. And on the out-breath, back and up. The psoas drawing that front leg to straight, drawing the whole body back and up, and the head releases down over the front leg. And just wait with the out-breath until the in-breath does itself. And then let the head and the front knee begin to release you forwards. The heel stays back. The pelvic floor seems to stay back. Everything extends into a lovely widening of the groins. And again, on the next out-breath, drawing back and up. It's the pelvic area that initiates the movement. It draws the movement. And the head can just release over the front leg. Again, just waiting for the in-breath. Back heel stays where it is. The head leads the vertebrae, the spine into extension, and the skull leads the breath away from the front leg. And then step up on the next in-breath. Out-breath, just where you are. And then let the arms lead, keeping them between the ears on the next in-breath to take you up out of the forward bend and down again. You okay there, Hannes? Good. And then let's go straight again on the other side when you were all caught up. Letting yourself stabilize. And then up with the arms. And psoas back and up to come forwards into the flat back, keeping the ears between the elbows and vice versa. Right down into the forward bend, keeping the iliacs back and up so we don't collapse in the hips, and taking the other leg back. Head extending away from the heel, skull extending away from the pelvic floor. On the next out breath, just drawing back and up. Thinking about screwing the ankle so that again we keep those legs working in extension, waiting for the in-breath. Keeping the heel back as the head and the front knee, the back of the front knee lead us forwards. And again, the psoas leading back and up, the iliacs leading back and up, the ribs leading back and up. Head leading the body forwards, back of the knee leading forwards, the heel staying back. And then on the next in-breath coming up, out-breath just lengthening down in forward bend again. Finding those iliacs back and up, finding equality. And the iliacs back and up off the outside of the knees so the knees don't fall together. And then next in-breath, lengthening, coming up. And the out-breath, bringing the arms down. Okay, lovely. And if we've got the stamina for the next extension of those, which is again, we're going to come up and down as before, and then on the in-breath coming back into the lunge. And now from the lunge, we're going to lead with the fingers on the in-breath to take the hand up and open the body. And then the out-breath, and you can help the work with the breath to help stabilize, because we're now doing this perhaps slower than we were doing last week. Again, the in-breath leads everything into extension. The out-breath, again, using it to stabilize the body. And then the in-breath draws us up and off the front leg. The out-breath draws us back into the flat back. The next in-breath takes everything forwards again. The out-breath takes us back into lunge and swap legs. And then we do it again on the other side. Okay? You up for that? Okay. So let's start with the stabilizer. 1, 2, 3. And then on the next in-breath, hands come up. Out-breath, coming right through, keeping the ears between the elbows, right over, lengthening those thighs up off the outside of the knees, stabilizing the legs. And then on the next in-breath, step back. And then on the, just stay there for a breath. And lengthen, and then on the next in-breath, you're going to bring one of the hands up and twist the body to one side. And on the out-breath, coming down again. Stabilizing everything on the out-breath. Don't let anything sag on the out-breath. Again, the in-breath lifts the arm on the other side. Out-breath down again. Really working that psoas back and up so nothing sags. On the next in-breath, stabilizing into the pelvic floor and lifting the torso up off the front leg. And then on the next out-breath, pulling with the psoas to pull you back into flat back. Waiting for the in-breath. Coming back into the upright lunge. On the out breath, put the hands down and bounce to swap legs. And go again on the other side. So on the in-breath, we lift the hand round to the side and open the body. On the out-breath, stabilizing down again. Thinking about the heel away from the head. In-breath, lift the other side. Out-breath, stabilizing. Heel away from head, psoas back and up, ribs back and up. On the in-breath, lifting the torso up off the leg. On the out-breath, straightening the front leg. The next in-breath, coming up, forwards back into the lunge. And hands down, bounce up, back into forward bend. On the next in-breath, coming out into flat back and back and up. And then down. So have we time for a quick plank? Everyone up for a quick plank? Yep, good, good. So we're going to arms up, down, and then on the in-breath, we walk forwards into plank. And on the out-breath, check my instructions here. And we can, on the out breath, we can come up again. And then on the in breath, we can come forwards again. And then on the, just stay there for a breath. And then up on the in breath into the wide one. Down again on the out breath. Other way, the same. And then we'll do the whole over. Now, when you go over, you really want to be coming up. There's the out breath. You really need the in breath to do that widening of that turning from the back. And then over onto the front plank again. And again, the in breath takes you into the side. Out breath takes you back onto the back. In breath takes you over. Out breath takes you back into plank. And then walking back up, led by the psoas on the out breath, and then up we come. So, I think you've all done it with me. Okay, so, ready for this. So let's stabilize. When you're ready. So we're at the, oh, I'm at the wrong end of the mat. We start at the back of the mat this time. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. In breath. Leads us into forward, into the arms up, being aware that breath doesn't come up into the chest. Outward, out, breath, back and up, back and up, back and up. So that the real stretch up and back in there. And now on the in-breath, begin to walk forwards into plank. And the more you use the hands like a cat, the more stable you can be. And to start with, we're just going to walk straight back up again on the out-breath. Again, seeing how stable you can keep the body during this. And next in-breath, out again. See how long you can keep the heels down for. This opposition between the heels and the head. And stay for an out breath, working that psoas back and up so you stay in a beautiful plank, working the arms. And then on the next in-breath, come up into the side plank. Head away from pelvic floor. Stabilizing down on the out breath, keeping that psoas back and up. Nothing collapses as you come back to plank. Head away from heels, psoas and iliacs. Thinking back and up, ribs back and up. Other side, in breath. Opening out. Down on the out breath, keeping everything stabilized. And then see if we can go into the plank roll. Up again with the first arm on the in-breath, on the out-breath, stabilizing everything as you come over. Nothing, the bum shouldn't sag towards the floor. Keep it all working. On the next in-breath, you're bringing that back arm over, up into the air again, back into front plank, stabilizing as you come over. There's no falling. Able to. And from front plank, back we go again. So back the other way. Back onto your back, no falling. Stabilizing there, keeping the bum up, not letting it drop. In breath helps lift you back into side plank. Down into front plank again, keeping stable. Nothing drops, nothing bends. And then psoas to lead you back up. Pulling the psoas and the iliacs back to walk you back up into forward bend. And then head leads on the in-breath to come up. And the hands come down. Right. And let's come back together. little bounce to finish, just a little sort of, just to loosen everything out. That was, maybe shake your arms a bit, your wrists. Let's do it. If you're starting up to finish, just okay. There we go. So anyone like to comment? How was that?
I have a question. When you talk about the in-breath, do you think always down as well to the pelvic floor with the in-breath?
Yes, I'm using Philip Shepherd's idea that the pelvic floor actually initiates the in-breath, and the diaphragm, of course, is doing the same thing. They're both doing that on the in-breath and that on the out-breath. And you can think about the diaphragm initiating the breath, which is logical, but actually, if you pay attention, you can actually let the in-breath be initiated by the pelvic floor. I don't know what neurological mechanisms are there, but I observe it to be true. So I can't believe that the pelvic floor actually initiates it, but it certainly wants to be, you know, if everything is connected up and integrated, it really does do that. And I think by focusing on that and also the skull going the other way, we really can get this sort of sense of lengthening through the whole system. I don't know whether anyone picked up on that today. I mean, I threw that one at you. Did anyone sort of get that one? That sense of the whole body extending, because we've worked with widening on the in-breath, and here we're actually working with a subtle lengthening on the in-breath.
My question was because, so you think down, when I lift my arms up with the in-breath, I was looking for, yeah, in which direction I would think. So I would think I lift up my arms and I would think down with my in-breath. Yes, yes, yes.
And why?
And it's very different because when I did it before and I did it with the in-breath, always it's more feeling like my rib cage goes away from my pelvic.
Yes, it
pelvis.
comes up.
And now it's different. And now when I think down, then yeah, maybe I miss a bit the space between my rib cage now and my pelvis, because in former days I did it more and it was really stretching in this area, and now I think down and it's less movement here. Yeah.
Yes, yes, there's less stretch in that area, I would
Yes.
agree. But
Yes.
on the other hand, we've still got that, you know, like we had with the hip lifts, but it's not, it's more obvious, isn't it? If we do a hip lift, then one side stretches, but there's more a sense of connection down. Yes, there's more a question of sense of solidity in it. You're right there. Yes, but if you were doing a hip lift on one side, you'd get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So did you feel the stability when you did that?
Yes, there's more stability, but less stretching or less flexibility in this area where I was used to have this. So it's a bit confusing.
Sure. I think, I mean, I wonder if that's why, because what I was thinking was everybody was so stable in the bow. I mean, one or two people were having the odd wobble, but in general, we were staying in tilt, stay. Did anyone feel more stable in the bow than we were last week? Yeah. Yeah. It's and what did people notice by staying there and breathing that pelvic floor down and wide before we even began? Was it beginning already to open out that quad?
Yeah, absolutely. I could feel like that would be almost enough for a start, because my quad feels really tight, and just by staying there and breathing, it starts opening. And then, okay, after like a long time, always in the last moment I lost balance, but it's really opening, and then it feels like you can almost breathe into this bow, but you're not like pulling or squeezing or anything, because it has to open here first, and it's really very different.
Very different experience to last week, wasn't it? Last time, wasn't it?
Absolutely, the whole sequence was different.
Yeah. Lovely, brilliant. Mary.
One thing that I don't think I've heard you say before was referring to the iliac spines is coming up to the outside of the knees. That was really helpful for me to think of spatially to direct the iliac spines.
Yes, yes, we did it. We did it in the advanced module 6. What were we doing in advanced module 6? I did them with the others last week. What is it? I even remember what we were doing. Oh bugger! Sorry, I can't remember what we were doing.
What week that was, or what's your question?
The advanced. I'll have to have a quick flip as to what we actually did, what it was about. But
At the wall, right? Isn't it at the wall?
yes, it is. Thank you. Brilliant. It is. It's the wall. Yeah, exactly. And monkey. Yeah. So we were getting that lengthening up and off. This can come back and up. And again, to think that from the knees was really stabilizing. But I was very aware of it today in forward bend, because I think my knees will tend to do that in forward bend if I don't also think that going on. Was anyone aware of that one? As I started, or whether was that just me informing myself? Yes, yeah. Okay, so again, that's that back and up off the knees, really helpful. There's Mary's disappeared. Oh, she's, don't know, she's gone. Yeah. So yeah, anyone else want to say anything before we finish?
I also noticed with the in-breath coming onto this very deep archer, it's much different. It's somehow with the breath, it comes more natural, and it's not like, oh, I can't do it. And you didn't go into this thinking so much of this is impossible.
Yes, yes, it's more possible than last time, isn't it? That's actually to get that thing lengthening up. So I think if we'd only tried to use the breath and we hadn't put the directions in first, it wouldn't be easy either. We're actually using both together, even though this week we're more aware of the breath. So we need both. Super. So yeah. Any other comments before we finish? How was the side plank, the roll plank? Was it more stable? Yeah. Iphigenia.
Yes, I can't do the whole thing with the leg stretched and with the back going on the back. Yeah. So my feet came in. I still did it somehow, but by staying with the breath, it was funny to watch how my body was adjusting, but I could still somehow do it, like roll over. But I think, yeah, my arms are not kind of strong enough yet to keep the whole, or my back. I think it's the back muscles actually that cannot hold the back plank.
Yes, yes. I mean, it does take a lot of stability across this region. I mean, yeah. I'm thrilled that I can do it, but my wrists were shaking a bit by the end. Yes, it is very strenuous, that. So, you know, please, anybody else watching, don't do it if you can't do it. You know, I don't want people injuring themselves having a go at this, but you know, everybody here is pretty fit. So yeah, just keep playing. I mean, certainly the first time I tried it, I thought that's impossible. And then the second time, it's like something started to come into play. But even just working with that front plank, those, you know, that lengthening up and going into side and back again, and that will start to, but the back plank, one really does need to be able to keep that stability up here. And it's all serratus anterior, I think it's this muscle here, isn't it? This.
I have a question. Would it be possible to approach the back plank, like not from this twisting over, but from the ground? Because I feel like I don't feel safe at all to go there. So it's like, I don't want to go there.
Do some back planks next time. Yeah, we can do them up from the ground. Good idea. Thank you.
So that maybe once the body gets more used to this back plank, then you can do the roll, but somehow the body needs to go and know where it lands, and if it, as long as it's just like collapsing into the floor.
Right.
Yeah.
we'll look at that next week. Any other requests for next week? At some point, I'll do some more of that prone and yeah. Go on, Claire.
I think the transition for me as well from side to back plank, because I will tend to overextend at my elbows.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, there's something in the transition which I lose stability somewhere there.
Yeah.
I can kind of do it, but something's not quite happy.
Yeah. So I think if we work on back plank and we work on side plank separately, and then yeah. Lovely. Okay.
I just have an organization question. Did you ever think about doing like a summer break, or you just going? I think you at some point you're leaving, but how long?
Yes, I'm leaving. I mean, Amelia's baby is due just after our last session, so I'm gone for August. Yes, and I thought we'd start again in September sometime, possibly at the end of September even. I mean, I can start at the beginning of the September because by that time the baby will have arrived and I'll be done, but I'll have internet.
Because in Germany we have like the holiday in July, so yes. It might be tricky then. I don't know what will be in July. So yeah, but you will go through to July, right?
Yes. My plan is to go through July and then stop for the baby being born. Yeah. And then would you like to, you're all up to start again in September then, are you? Okay. Yeah. Don't answer that now.
Yes, time, absolutely. It's great.
Super. So beginning of September or end of September, have a think of it and send me a text, because we've hopefully got the workshop in Berlin. Hopefully that will happen in middle of September. So
maybe end of September.
End of September, probably, when I'm back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think back in.
Yes, please. End of September, please.
End of September. Yeah. I think that's that will suit. So I'll work that out at some point. Okay. Right. Everybody okay? Chris, you okay? Okay, doke. And if anyone else wants to come on Monday, because Marie and Chris are coming on Monday, you know, everybody knows about Monday, don't they? It's the start, the opening seminar of the book club. The Study the Book Club. You all know about that?
Yeah, I just forgot about that. What time is it?
It's 5 o'clock UK time on Monday, so it's your 6 o'clock.
Okay.
If anyone wants to join in, send me an email and I'll send you a link, because I'm organizing.
I send it to you. I would like, but I have to teach. You
have to teach. That's right. But you'll get all the information. Yeah. Lovely. Yes, thank you. Good. Okay. So all the best. Have fun and see you in a fortnight, if not before. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yoke.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.